So I think by now everybody knows how much I am enjoying my Fujifilm X-E4, and primarily I have been using the 27mm f2.8 lens on this camera body. I do have to say that for quite some time I've been thinking to add another lens to my lineup, and I've been thinking about a longer focal length because I think it would go well alongside with my 27mm that I have already. Recently, the people from TTArtisan reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try out one of their lenses. And that was actually perfect timing, so I looked through their lineup and found the 50mm f2. And I'm really stoked to try this lens out and share my thoughts and opinion with you guys. One thing that I should state from the beginning is that this is a manual focus lens. Now you might be a little skeptical or lose interest, but let me tell you a reason why you might be actually really interested in picking up this lens. And that reason is that this comes in at $79 US. And that is for a lens that is equivalent to 75mm in full frame terms. And if you combine that with the tiny size, it might be a reason to maybe consider looking at this one. When you compare this lens to an 85mm equivalent on a full frame body, then the size of this is ridiculous. And even if you compare it to other lenses on a crop sensor camera, this is still on the smaller side. And for me with this camera, I don't want to give up that small form factor because that's exactly why I love this camera so much. It's so easy to take with me, and with this lens attached, it doesn't change. Now before you kill me in the comments, I do know that full frame lenses are definitely on another level when it comes to build quality and the glass that's in them, but that's not what I am personally looking for when I'm looking for a lens for this kind of camera. When I was holding this lens in my hand for the first time, I immediately felt that this is built with a solid material. It doesn't feel cheap at all. The focusing ring has a nice resistance and the aperturing is nice and clicky, which is definitely a good thing because there are lenses out there where the aperturing is smooth, and with this one you definitely don't have to worry about bumping the ring. Now there's one thing that I found a little odd about this lens, and that's that the aperturing is actually in the front and not in the back. I don't know about you, but all the lenses that I have used so far always had the aperturing in the back. So this is something that I feel like is probably going to take a little time to get used to. One thing that I immediately felt very positive about is when you attach this lens to the camera, I feel like this gets a really solid and tight fit, which means you also get a very good seal. Not that the lens or the X-E4 are water resistant, but it definitely makes me feel good that I feel like this lens is on that camera body nice and secure. So that's basically it when it comes to the first impressions that I have with this lens. Now I feel like we need to go out there and test this out. So let's do that. So there were a couple of things that I noticed while I was out using that lens. For example, with the manual focus, it took me a little bit of time to get used to, but that's just a general thing. I've been using an autofocus lens for quite some time, and now making the switch back to a manual focus definitely took a little bit for me to get used to be able to nail focus frequently. Now with that being said, I know in the beginning I mentioned that the focus ring has a nice resistance, and I do still think so, but I wish there would be slightly more resistance to it, because I think that would have helped me to nail focus a little faster and more accurate for a lot of the shots that I was trying to get. Now I was able to manual focus with this lens just fine, but as a personal preference, I would have loved for it to be a little stiffer. But to be fair, you can only ask so much of a lens that is priced as well as this lens is priced at. And then I want to pick up another thing that I mentioned in the beginning, and that's about the aperture ring being in the front. I have to say that it actually didn't bother me as much. I found myself changing the aperture more when I'm holding the camera in front of me than when I am holding it up to my eye to take a photograph. So changing the aperture while I'm out shooting was not a problem at all. So overall, do I see myself using this lens, or can I even recommend it to anyone? And to be honest, yes, because at the price point of $79, having something this small in my camera bag or with me is just a great asset if I want to have a different kind of focal length or perspective than the 27mm that I have on my camera body right now, which I still think will be my primary lens on that body, but I will definitely have this in my camera bag or with me when I'm out shooting, because it gives me a lot of versatility if I am trying to get a tighter shot or more detailed shots of something that catches my eye that the 27mm might be too wide for. So this lens is really great for people that are just getting started on the Fuji system and are on a budget, or photographers that like to manual focus and want to keep a more compact setup. And that's it for today's video. I hope this is helpful for any of you out there that are interested in any lenses or this lens in particular. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I would love to have you on the team, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.